As part of our continuing series, What You Own and Why You Own It, this quarter we focus on the Royal Bank of Canada. Throughout its 140-year history, owning shares in the Royal Bank has been a wise decision, despite the fact that their shares have experienced temporary declines numerous times. The most recent decline was one of the most dramatic. In 2007, a single share was priced at $60. By March of 2009, their price had fallen to $26. More than half of its value, according to the stock market, was gone. But was the business really 50% less valuable? Were the future earnings impaired in a permanent way? A well-functioning banking system is essential to Canadians. Imagine what our lives would look like without mortgages to buy our homes, loans to buy cars, credit and debit cards to facilitate transactions, bank accounts to receive paychecks, and commercial loans to fund the expansion of businesses. Without these services, the economy, the nation, and our lives as we know them would come to a grinding halt. What's different about Canadian banks? They operate in a unique environment. Competition is limited by the charter system, foreign ownership rules, and highly regulated capital requirements. This leads to a stable, well-functioning banking system. The combination of a deep-seated need for the service and restrictive competitive forces form the most elemental ingredients necessary for generating large profits and increasing dividends. The Royal Bank has been paying a dividend since 1871. But more on that later. Why is RBC a good business to own? Today, it's Canada's largest bank and among the largest banks in the world. Their 79,000 employees service over 17 million clients in 52 countries. While RBC's initial profits were generated by the spread between interest paid on deposits and interest collected on loans, they now generate revenue from 6 distinct business segments: Canadian banking, wealth management, insurance, international banking, capital markets, corporate support. Now that you know what you own, a global leader in financial services, let's take a look from 30,000 feet at why you own it. RBC has generated $197 billion in revenue since the beginning of 1999. Over the same time frame, they've had over $152 billion in operating expenses and generated $42.3 billion in excess cash. They've reinvested $22.7 billion building a moat around their traditional banking business, broadened their wealth management and insurance businesses, as well as expanding into the U.S. and other markets. But was there money left over for shareholders? RBC has paid shareholders over $19 billion in dividends since the beginning of 1999 until October of 2010. RBC has grown its dividend from $972 million to $2.9 billion from 2001 until today. They've been paying a dividend since 1871. The last time RBC cut their dividend was in 1942 as a result of closing branches at the request of the Canadian government. Many of the troops were bank employees and were needed in the war effort. In March of 2011, RBC once again announced record quarterly profits of $1.8 billion, less than 2 years after their shares were cut in half. As shareholders, we recognize that RBC has the characteristics of a good business. Our hands are firmly clenched around the shares of businesses that are interwoven into the fabric of our society, especially when the stock market temporarily cuts them in half. As we saw from our video last quarter on CN Rail, a developed or developing nation requires a well-functioning transportation system and an equally well-functioning banking system. Thank you for joining us on What You Own and Why You Own It. Next quarter, we'll be taking a look at another business that is interwoven into the fabric of our society, the insurance business.